curtain raiser is for the same event. So I take this opportunity to welcome on the stage to speak to us Professor Anil Prabhakar. Professor Anil Prabhakar, please come onto the stage. Sir is an expert on quantum technologies, vast experience. Please, sir, happy to have you here, and we would be delighted that you can explain to the sir anywhere, sir. No formality. Yeah, please. Sir has a vast experience in this area, and he would be explaining in a very layman terms about the quantum technologies to the press here, so that we can carry this to the general public. So I also welcome Mr. Amit Singhi, Director Research from IBM India. In fact, IBM is a pioneer in this technology, and not many companies have the technology available currently in quantum computing, and we are lucky to partner with them. And in fact, today we are lucky to have them here with us. Next, I would invite on stage Dr. Vijayawada from LTI Mindtree, who is an expert in quantum research. We request him to grace the occasion and enlighten us with the subject matter. I would also request Pradyumna, Secretary to Chief Minister, Government of Andhra Pradesh, again, who is spearheading the efforts towards getting the work on the quantum valley started in the Amravati. So I welcome all of you to the occasion. I also welcome all the members of the press మిత్రులందరికీ కూడా నమస్కారం. ఈరోజు మీటింగ్ ఉద్దేశం రెండు, ఒకటి కర్టెన్ రైజర్, రెండోది అందరికీ అర్థమయ్యేటట్టు సరళంగా క్వాంటమ్ టెక్నాలజీస్ అంటే ఏంటి, క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటింగ్ అంటే ఏంటో చెప్పడం. ఎందుకంటే ఇది ఒక టెక్నాలజీ కాదు, దీంట్లో రకరకాలైనటువంటి డిఫరెంట్ ఫీల్డ్స్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్పర్టీస్ ఉంది. అది మనం ఈరోజు అర్థం చేసుకుంటాం. అదేవిధంగా మీ ద్వారా రాష్ట్రంలో ఉన్న ప్రజలందరికీ కూడా ఈ క్వాంటమ్ టెక్నాలజీస్ ఏంటి, దాంట్లో మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం, రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వం కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వం యొక్క ఉద్దేశం ఏంటి, ఏ విధంగా దీన్ని ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్లాలనుకుంటున్నారనేది మీ ద్వారా ప్రజలందరికీ చేర్చాలనేటువంటి ఉద్దేశంతో ఈరోజు ఇక్కడ ప్రెస్ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ కమ్ కర్టన్ రేజర్ ఏర్పాటు చేయడం జరిగింది. నౌ ఐ వుడ్ రిక్వెస్ట్ ది ఇనీషియల్ రిమార్క్స్ from Pradyumna, from the CM's office, the government's vision on this subject andarki తెలియజేస్తారు. Thank you.
అందరికీ నమస్కారం అండి. ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు క్వాంటమ్ వ్యాలీ అనౌన్స్ చేసిన తర్వాత 2-3 మీటింగ్స్ అయితే నాకే సిపిఆర్ఓ అయినటువంటి రమేష్ వచ్చి ముందుగా సార్ ఈ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్ అంటే ఏంటి, క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటింగ్ అంటే ఏంటి అనేటటువంటిది అవగాహన మీడియా మిత్రులందరికీ కూడా మీరు తెలియచేయాలా, తద్వారా ప్రజలకు కూడా తెలియచేయాలా అని చెప్తే మరి మంచి సలహా అని ఆలోచించి ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారిని కూడా అడిగి ఇటువంటిది చేస్తే బాగుంటుంది అంటే మరి సార్ కూడా ఓకే అన్నారు. సో నేను మరియు ఐటీ సెక్రటరీ అయినటువంటి భాస్కర్ గారు కూర్చొని ఆలోచించి ఈ యొక్క మీడియా అవగాహన సదస్సు, ఈ యొక్క సమావేశము ఏర్పాటు చేయడం జరిగింది. వచ్చినందుకు అందరికీ ఒకసారి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తూ నేను ముందుగా మాట్లాడుతున్నాను. ఎందుకంటే భాస్కర్ గారు చెప్పినట్టు ఒకటి ప్రభుత్వ విజన్ ఏంటి అనేది తెలియజేయాలా. ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే నేను పెద్దగా టెక్నికల్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్ కాదు కాబట్టి నేనేమైనా తప్పు మాట్లాడితే దాన్ని కరెక్ట్ చేయడానికి భాస్కర్ ఉన్నాడు. అదేవిధంగా IBM ఎలాంటి నుంచి వాళ్ళ రిప్రజెంటేటివ్స్ కూడా ఉన్నారు కాబట్టి ఒకవేళ నేనేమైనా తప్పు మాట్లాడితే వాళ్ళు మీకే కరెక్షన్ కూడా చెప్తారు. I was telling them that the reason I am speaking first is not only because I have to convey the government's mission and vision, but also because since I am not a technical guy, if I make any mistakes while I am speaking, you guys can tell the correct version of it. అయితే ఇక్కడ నేను చాలా క్లుప్తంగా అండ్ చాలా మ్యాక్రో లెవెల్లో కొన్ని విషయాలు, మూలభూతమైనటువంటి కొన్ని విషయాలు మీకే చెప్పాలని నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను. అసలు ప్రభుత్వము, సీఎం గారు దీన్ని ఎందుకు చాలా కీలకంగా, చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్గా భావిస్తూ ఉందనేటటువంటిది అంశము ప్రజలకందరికీ తెలియాల. ఈ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్ అంటే, క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటింగ్ అంటే ఏంటి అనేటటువంటిది ఆలోచిస్తే ఏ విధంగా చెప్పాలా అనేటటువంటిది, అంటే టెక్నికల్, నాన్ టెక్నికల్, సామాన్యులకి ఏ విధంగా చెప్పాలని ఆలోచిస్తే కొన్ని ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ వస్తాయి. ఇప్పుడు జనరల్గా చాలా 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 ఫాస్ట్ కంప్యూటర్ అనేటటువంటిది అందరికీ అర్థమవుతుంది. ఎలా ఇది ఫాస్ట్ కంప్యూటర్ అవుతుంది అని ఆలోచిస్తే, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, యు నాట్ ఏబుల్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్, రైట్? ప్లీజ్. సో సపోజ్ మీ సూట్ కేసు ఉంది. ఈ సూట్ కేసులో మీకే ఒక లాక్ సిస్టమ్ ఉంది. ఒక పాస్వర్డ్ ఇస్తారు, 3 డిజిట్. ఈ 3 డిజిట్ మీరు 001 1 2 3 4 5 6 మీరు అలా పెట్టుకుంటారు. అది పెడితే మీ సూట్ కేసు ఓపెన్ అవుతుంది. కరెక్ట్ కదా? ఈ పాస్వర్డ్, మీ పాస్వర్డ్ నాకు తెలియదు. నేను కనిపెట్టాలా మీ పాస్వర్డ్ అంటే నేనేం చేయాలా చెప్పండి? అన్ని 3 డిజిట్లో ఎన్ని ఆప్షన్స్ వస్తాయో అన్ని ఆప్షన్స్ కూడా నేను చెక్ చేయాలా. ఎన్ని ఆప్షన్స్ వస్తాయి? 000 అనేది ఒక ఆప్షన్, 001 002 003 004, అదైనాక మళ్ళీ 011 012 013. ఈ అన్ని ఆప్షన్స్ నేను ఒకటొకటి చెక్ చేసుకుంటూ ఏ ఆప్షన్ నొక్కినప్పుడు మీ సూట్ కేసు ఓపెన్ అవుతుందా, ఆ ఆప్షన్ కరెక్ట్ ఆప్షన్ నాకు తెలుస్తుంది. కరెక్టా? ఇది ప్రస్తుతము మన దగ్గర ఉన్నటువంటి క్లాసికల్ కంప్యూటర్స్ చేసే విధానం. కంప్యూటర్స్ చెస్ గేమ్ ఆడితే ఎట్లా ఆడతాయంటే, మీరు చెస్ ఆడతారు కదా, ఎంతమంది చెస్ ఆడతారు? మీలో ఎంతమంది చెస్ ఆడతారు? మీరు ఏ మూవ్ చేయాలని మీకు ఇమ్మీడియట్ తెలిసిపోతుంది. అయితే కంప్యూటర్ ఏంటంటే అన్ని మూవ్స్, సంబంధం లేని మూవ్స్ కూడా ఒకసారి వెళ్ళి చూస్తుంది. ఇది ఈ మూవ్, ఈ మూవ్, ఈ మూవ్, ఈ మూవ్, అన్నిటికంటే ఏది బెటర్ మూవ్ అని చేస్తుంది. సో ఇందాక సూట్ కేస్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ తీసుకుంటే ప్రతి ఒక్క కాంబినేషన్ని ట్రై చేసి ఏదో ఒక కాంబినేషన్ కరెక్ట్ అయినాక ఏ కాంబినేషన్ సూట్ కేస్ ఓపెన్ అవుతుందో అది పాస్వర్డ్ అనేది క్రాక్ అవుతుంది. ఇది ఈరోజు మన దగ్గర ఉన్నటువంటి కంప్యూటర్స్ చేసే పని. మనం కూడా చేయొచ్చు. ఏ పాస్వర్డ్ అయినా మనం క్రాక్ చేయవచ్చు. సమస్య ఏంటి? టైం. అంతే. టైం ఇస్తే 3 రోజులు టైం ఇస్తే ఆ సూట్ కేసు నంబర్ ఏదో ఒక నంబర్ నాకు తగులుకుంటుంది కదా. మీరు మా సూట్ కేసు ఇచ్చిపోతే నాకు 3 రోజులు ఇస్తే నేను కాంబినేషన్ ట్రై చేసి, ఇక్కడ సమస్య ఉన్నది టైము. పాస్వర్డ్ క్రాక్ కాదు అనేది కాదు, టైం ఇస్ ద ప్రాబ్లం. మీరు ఆలోచించండి. ఇదే పని ఒక 10 మంది చేస్తే ఎలా ఉంటుంది? అదే 10 మంది చేస్తే ఏమవుతుంది, ఇంకా తొందరగా పని అవుతుంది. అదే 100 మంది చేస్తే ఇంకా తొందరగా పని అవుతుంది. అదే 1000 మంది చేస్తే ఆ పాస్వర్డ్ ఇంకా తొందరగా క్రాక్ అవుతుంది. అయినా కూడా 1000 మంది మీరు పెట్టినా కూడా వాళ్ళు కూడా ఇంకా ప్రస్తుతం ఉన్నటువంటి క్లాసికల్ కంప్యూటర్ విధానంలోనే చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఎందుకంటే ఆ 1000 మందికి ఏం తెలియదు అంటే, వాడు ఏ కాంబినేషన్ ట్రై చేస్తున్నాడు, నేనే కాంబినేషన్ ట్రై చేస్తున్నాను, అవతల వాడు ఇంకోటి ఏ కాంబినేషన్ ట్రై చేస్తున్నాడు అని తెలియదు. కానీ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటింగ్లో ఏంటంటే, ఈ 1000 మంది ఒకేసారి కూర్చొని ప్రతి ఒక్కడు కూడా ఏ పాస్వర్డ్ నొక్కుతున్నాడు అనేది ట్రై చేస్తున్నాడంటే ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి తెలుస్తుంది. సో 1000 మంది లేదా 10,000 మంది ఒకేసారి ట్రై చేసినప్పుడు ఎంత ఫాస్ట్గా పాస్వర్డ్ మనం క్రాక్ చేయవచ్చు. అది క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటింగ్ చేసే ఒక విధానం. మనం చిన్నప్పుడు చూసాము, ఈ మీ పేపర్స్లో వస్తుంటే ఇప్పుడు కూడా ఏంటంటే, ఒక చిన్న కార్టూన్ ఉంటుంది, చిన్న పిల్లవాడు మేజ్ అంటారు, మేజ్ ఇంగ్లీష్లో మేజ్ అంటారు, తెలుగులో ఏమంటారు దానికి అంటే, వాడు ఈ పాయింట్ నుంచి ఈ పాయింట్కి వెళ్ళాలా, వాడు దారిని వెతుక్కుంటూ వెళ్ళాలా. వాడికి 5 ఆప్షన్స్ ఉంటాయి. 5 ఆప్షన్లో ఎంట్రీ పాయింట్ నుంచి ఎగ్జిట్ పాయింట్ వెళ్ళడానికి ఒకే ఆప్షన్ ఉంటుంది. చూసారు, ఈ ఆట ఆడి ఉంటాం కదా చిన్నప్పుడు. దీనికి మేజ్, ఇంగ్లీష్లో మేజ్ అంటారు, తెలుగులో ఏమంటారు తెలియదు అని. పజల్లో. సో మనం ఏం చేస్తాము, ఫస్ట్ ఒక దారి చూసుకుంటాము, అక్కడ దాకా వెళ్ళి ఆగుతాము, ఇది కరెక్ట్ కాదరా బాబు, నెక్స్ట్ 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 అంటే ఒకటి తర్వాత ఒకటి వెళ్తాము. కానీ అన్నీ ఒకేసారి ట్రై చేసినప్పుడు ఎవరికో ఒకరికి ఫస్ట్ టైమే తగులుకుంటుంది కదా. సో ఇది ప్యారలల్ ప్రాసెసింగ్. సో ఇది క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్ చేసే ఒక విధానం. అంటే ఎట్లా చెప్తారంటే, స్పీడు, రకరకాల స్పీడు. ఆ రోజు క్యాబినెట్లో ఇది విషయం వచ్చినప్పుడు 40 times మోర్ స్పీడ్ అని కూడా చెప్పడం జరిగింది. కానీ అది ఆల్గరిథమ్స్ పైన డిపెండ్ అయి ఉంటుంది. సో జనరల్గా ఏంటంటే ఏమంటున్నారంటే n² అండ్ √n అంటే ఏంది, n² అంటే ఏంటి, సపోజ్ 12, ఇప్పుడు 4 × 4, 4² అంటే ఎంత అవుతుంది, 4² అంటే 16, √4 అంటే 2. సో దిస్ ఇస్ అలాగే 12² అంటే, లేదంటే 16² అంటే ఎంత అవుతుంది, 256. సో స్పీడ్ ఆఫ్ నార్మల్ కంప్యూటర్ ఈజ్ 16² అనుకుంటే, 256 అనుకుంటే, స్పీడ్ ఆఫ్ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్ విల్ బి √16 అంటే 4. అంటే ఎంత పెద్ద ఆపరేషన్ ఉంటే అంత డిఫరెన్స్ ఇంకా పెరుగుతుంది. సో ఇది డిఫరెన్స్. అంటే చాలా సింపుల్గా చెప్పాలంటే, చాలా స్పీడ్గా ఒక పని చేస్తుంది. కొన్ని సంవత్సరాలు తీసుకునే ఒక యాక్టివిటీని, ఒక ప్రాసెసింగ్ని కొన్ని క్షణాల్లోనే చేయగలిగే కెపాసిటీ ఈ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్కి ఉంటాయి. అయితే ఇది ఇప్పుడే ఎందుకు ఇంపార్టెంట్ అంటే, దీని గురించి ఆల్రెడీ 30-40 సంవత్సరాల నుంచి రీసెర్చ్ జరిగి ఇప్పుడు క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్ ఆల్రెడీ తయారవుతున్నాయి. ఇప్పుడు IBM వాళ్ళు తయారు చేశారు, గూగుల్ వాళ్ళు తయారు చేశారు, ఇప్పుడు మైక్రోసాఫ్ట్ వాళ్ళు కూడా తయారు చేస్తూ ఉన్నారు. ఇప్పుడు సమస్య ఏంటంటే, ఈ టెక్నాలజీ అనేది చాలా త్వరలో ఇది విస్తృతంగా స్ప్రెడ్ అయ్యే ఒక అవకాశం ఉంది. ఏదో 20 సంవత్సరాలు 30 సంవత్సరాలని చెప్పలేము. కొన్ని రిపోర్ట్ల ప్రకారంగా అయితే 2029-30 నాటికే క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటింగ్ అనేటటువంటిది చాలా విస్తృతంగా స్ప్రెడ్ అవుతుంది అని ఒక రిపోర్ట్ ఉంది. ఎందులో ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, నేను ఇందాక పాస్వర్డ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎందుకు చెప్పానంటే, కంపెనీస్, ఇప్పుడు డిఫెన్స్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ కావచ్చు, బ్యాంక్స్ కావచ్చు, ఫినాన్షియల్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ కావచ్చు, అవన్నీ సెక్యూరిటీ సిస్టమ్స్ ఏమైతే ఉన్నాయో, ఆ సెక్యూరిటీ సిస్టమ్స్ దే ఆర్ బిల్ట్ ఆన్ క్లాసికల్ కంప్యూటింగ్ సిస్టమ్స్. ఎప్పుడైతే ఈ పాస్వర్డ్ లాగానే అక్కడ ఉన్న పాస్వర్డ్, అక్కడ ఉన్న సెక్యూరిటీ అంతా కూడా మనం ఇందాక చెప్పింటే నార్మల్ సెక్యూరిటీ బిల్ట్ ఆన్ క్లాసికల్ కంప్యూటింగ్. క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్ ఎప్పుడైతే వస్తాయో ఈ సెక్యూరిటీ ఇమ్మీడియట్గా కాంప్రమైజ్ అయ్యే ప్రమాదం ఉంటుంది. అందుకే 2-3 సంవత్సరంలోనే ఈ అన్ని పెద్ద పెద్ద ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్, పెద్ద పెద్ద కంపెనీ క్వాంటమ్ సెక్యూరిటీ సిస్టమ్స్కే మైగ్రేట్ అయిపోతున్నాయి. దానికి క్వాంటమ్ క్రిప్టోగ్రఫీ అంటారు. అంటే ఒక పవర్ఫుల్ కంప్యూటర్ పాస్వర్డ్ క్రాక్ చేయగలుగుతుందంటే అంతకంటే క్లిష్టంగా నేను పాస్వర్డ్ని పెట్టి సెక్యూర్ చేయాల్సినటువంటి అవసరం ఉంది. సో క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్ వస్తుందంటే ముందుగా ఆ సిస్టమ్స్ అన్నీ కూడా ఐ షుడ్ సెక్యూర్ మై సెల్ఫ్ త్రూ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్. సో ఇటువంటి విషయాలు ముందుకొచ్చే పరిస్థితి ఉంది. కాబట్టి చాలా తొందరలోనే అనేక కంపెనీ, అనేక ఆర్గనైజేషను ఈ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్ని ఆశ్రయిస్తుంది అనేటటువంటిది ఒక రిపోర్ట్ ఉంది. ఇంకొక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చెప్తాను. ఇందాక మీకు 4-5 ఇయర్స్ మీరు చూసారు, కోవిడ్ వచ్చింది, వ్యాక్సిన్ కనిపెట్టడానికి అట్లీస్ట్ 1 సంవత్సరం, అప్పుడు భాస్కర్ గారే హెల్త్ కమిషనర్గా ఉన్నారు, అట్లీస్ట్ 1 సంవత్సరం పట్టింది. ఎందుకంటే దాని ప్రాసెస్ అంతా కూడా ఆ డ్రగ్ డిస్కవరీ చేసేటప్పుడు ఎందుకు అంత డిలే అవుతుందని ప్రొఫెసర్స్ మీకు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తారు. కానీ అదే క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్ ఉంటే కొన్ని క్షణాల్లోనే, కొన్ని నిమిషాల్లోనే, లేదా కొన్ని రోజుల్లోనే కొత్త వ్యాక్సిన్ను కనిపెట్టి ట్రయల్స్ కూడా చేసి వ్యాక్సిన్ని మార్కెట్లో రాగలుగుతుంది అనేటటువంటిది అంచనా ఉంది. సమస్య ఏంటి? డ్రగ్ డిస్కవరీ అనేది ఒక సమస్య అయితే, ఇప్పుడు ఉన్న సమస్య ఏంటి? డ్రగ్ డిస్కవరీ అనేది సమస్య అయితే ట్రయల్స్ చేయడం కూడా ఒక సమస్య కదా. అంతమంది మీద ట్రయల్స్ చేయాలి. ఎందుకంటే బాడీలో ఎన్ని మాలిక్యూల్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఎవరికైనా తెలుసా? బాడీలో 10⁻45. అంటే 10⁻45 అంటే తెలుగులో ఎట్లా చెప్తాము? 45 సార్లు 10, 10 multiplied by 45 times అన్ని మాలిక్యూల్స్ ఉన్నాయి. మరి మనం ఒక కొత్త డ్రగ్ తీసుకువచ్చినప్పుడు ఆ మాలిక్యూల్స్ మీద ఏ విధమైనటువంటి ప్రభావం ఉంటుంది అనేది ఎలా తెలుసుకోవాలా? తెలుసుకునే మార్గమే లేదు. అందుకే టెస్టింగ్, హ్యూమన్ టెస్టింగ్ కూడా చేస్తాం. కానీ ఈ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఆ మాలిక్యులర్ స్ట్రక్చర్ని ఎగ్జాక్ట్గా సిమ్యులేట్ చేసి ఈ డ్రగ్ ట్రయల్స్ అనేది కూడా కొన్ని రోజుల్లోనే కంప్లీట్ చేసే ఒక అవకాశము ఉంది. మన ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ ఆల్రెడీ ఈజ్ ద ఫార్మా హబ్. సో మీరు ఈ యొక్క అవకాశాన్ని గమనించాలని నేను ఇక్కడ మనవి చేస్తున్నాను. అనేక ఇలాంటి ఉపయోగాలు ఉన్నాయి. ఇక్కడ మీకు ఒకటే విషయం చెప్తాను. ప్రస్తుతానికి తెలుగు వాళ్ళు సాఫ్ట్వేర్లో ప్రపంచంలో లీడ్ చేస్తున్నారు, మీకు అందరూ తెలిసిన విషయమే. కంప్యూటింగ్లో మనం ఫస్ట్ ఉన్నాం. సైన్స్ కూడా మనం చాలా ముందున్నాం. అంటే మన పిల్లలు, మన స్టూడెంట్స్ సైన్స్లో కానీ టెక్నాలజీ కానీ వాళ్ళు అగ్రస్థానంలో ఉంటారు. మనకి డెమోగ్రాఫిక్ డివిడెండ్ కూడా ఉంది. అంటే ఈ క్వాంటమ్ రెవల్యూషన్ని అందుకోవడానికి కావాల్సినటువంటి వాతావరణము, కావాల్సినటువంటి సందర్భాలు, పరిసరాలు అన్నీ కూడా మనకి సానుకూలంగా ఉంది, ఎస్పెషల్లీ ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో. ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు చెప్తూ ఉంటారు, ఇండస్ట్రియల్ రెవల్యూషన్ అయింది. ఇండస్ట్రియల్ రెవల్యూషన్ జరిగినప్పుడు 19th century జరిగినప్పుడు భారతదేశము మరి బ్రిటిష్ వాళ్ళ పరిపాలన ఉంది కాబట్టి ఇండస్ట్రియల్ రెవల్యూషన్ అందుకోలేకపోయినాం. తర్వాత కమ్యూనికేషన్ రెవల్యూషన్ వచ్చింది. ఎప్పుడు వచ్చింది? 90s వచ్చింది. కష్టపడి అందుకున్నాము. అప్పుడు 95లో ఐటీ రిఫార్మ్స్ చేయడంతో ఐటీ ఇవన్నీ కూడా మరి అవి ఇంపార్టెంట్గా పెరిగినాయి. ఇప్పుడు అందుకునే టైము అయిపోయింది. ఇప్పుడు లీడ్ చేసే టైం వచ్చింది. భారతదేశము అందులో భాగంగా మరి తెలుగు జాతి, ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ రాష్ట్రము ఈ క్వాంటమ్ రెవల్యూషన్ లీడ్ చేసే ఒక మరి పరిస్థితి వచ్చింది. దీన్ని, ఈ అవకాశాన్ని ఉపయోగించకపోతే చాలా ఇబ్బంది పడే పరిస్థితి వస్తాం. నేను ఎందుకు చెప్తున్నానంటే అన్ని కంప్యూటర్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఇంటర్నెట్ ఉంటుందా? ఉంటుంది. బట్ కంప్యూటర్స్ విల్ బి క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటర్స్, ఇంటర్నెట్ విల్ బి క్వాంటమ్ ఇంటర్నెట్. సో ఇది ఎట్లా అంటే, మీలో హాకీ ఎవరైనా ఆడారా? హాకీ, టెన్నిస్, లాన్ టెన్నిస్. మీకు తెలుసా 1970 వరకు ఇండియాకి హాకీలో ఎన్ని గోల్డ్ మెడల్స్ ఉన్నాయండి ఒలింపిక్స్లో? ఇప్పుడు వరకు ఇండియాదే లీడ్, 7 ఉన్నాయి. 1970 వరకు ఇండియా వాజ్ నంబర్ 1 నేషన్ ఇన్ హాకీ. తర్వాత మారింది. ఎందుకు మారింది అంటే అనేక కారణాలు ఉన్నాయి. అందులో ఒక కారణం ఏంటంటే హాకీ అనేది పవర్ గేమ్గా మారింది. అంటే టర్ఫ్ మార్చారు, చేసే గ్రౌండ్ మార్చారు, స్టిక్స్ మార్చారు. దీంతో ఏమైంది, మనకున్నటువంటి కొన్ని అడ్వాంటేజెస్ పోయినాయి. ఈరోజు మళ్ళా మన కంప్యూటర్లో సాఫ్ట్వేర్లు ముందుకు రావడం జరిగింది. మనం ఈరోజు లీడ్ చేస్తున్నాం. కానీ కంప్యూటర్ ఒక నేచర్ మారుతూ ఉంది. మనం దాన్ని లీడ్ చేయకపోతే రేపు ఈ అవకాశము ఇంకెక్కడో వేరే వాళ్ళకి వెళ్ళి మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళు లీడ్ చేసే పరిస్థితి వస్తే ఈ ఒక్క అవకాశం కోల్పోయినట్టు అవుతామన్న ఉద్దేశంతో మరి ఈ నిర్ణయం ప్రభుత్వం తీసుకోవడం జరిగింది. సో ఇది ఎప్పుడో 20 సంవత్సరం 30 సంవత్సరాల తర్వాత వచ్చేదే కాదు, ఇది ఆల్రెడీ వచ్చింది. ఇట్ హెస్ ఆల్రెడీ కమ్. కంట్రీస్ ఆర్ వర్కింగ్ ఆన్ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటింగ్. కంట్రీస్ ఆర్ వర్క్. నేషనల్ క్వాంటమ్ మిషన్ అందుకే 2023లో ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ అయింది. నేను ఈ సందర్భంలో ఒకటే మీకు అందరికీ చెప్తున్నది, ఇది అందరి బాధ్యత. సో మనకి నచ్చినా నచ్చకపోయినా ఈ రెవల్యూషన్ అనేది వస్తుంది. ఇది ఆల్రెడీ ఇట్ హస్ స్టార్టెడ్. మనం ప్రిపేర్ అయితే మనం లీడ్ చేసే అవకాశం ఉంటుంది. ఇవన్నీ విషయాలు ఆలోచించి మరి ప్రభుత్వము, ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు ఈ డిసిషన్ అనేటటువంటి తీసుకోవడం జరిగింది. మరి ఆ డిసిషన్ ఎలా తీసుకున్నాము, దానికి విధి విధానాలు ఏంటి, రాబోయే రోజుల్లో ఏం జరుగుతుంది అనేటటువంటిది మరి డిపార్ట్మెంట్ నుంచి సెక్రటరీ భాస్కర్ గారు చెప్పడం జరుగుతుంది. మనం ఇప్పుడు క్వాంటమ్ వర్క్షాప్ అనేటటువంటిది 30 నాడు పెట్టాము, June 30th. జనవరిలో క్వాంటమ్ వ్యాలీ అమరావతిలో ఇనాగ్రేట్ చేయాలని కూడా చెప్పడం జరిగింది. బిల్డింగ్ డిజైన్స్ ఇంకా ఫైనలైజ్ చేస్తున్నాం, ఎలా ఉండాలా బిల్డింగ్ అనేది. అంటే ఒక ఐకానిక్ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఉండాలనేటటువంటి ఒక ఉద్దేశంతో బిల్డింగ్ డిజైన్ అనేటటువంటిది ఫైనలైజ్ చేస్తున్నాం. 30 నాడు జరిగే క్వాంటమ్ వ్యాలీలో, క్వాంటమ్ సమ్మిట్లో కేవలము అకాడమీ, ప్రొఫెసర్సు లేదా స్టార్టప్స్ కాకుండా ఎండ్ యూజర్స్, ఈ క్వాంటమ్ కంప్యూటింగ్ వచ్చిన దాని నుంచి ఉపయోగపడే ఇండస్ట్రీస్ని కూడా మనం ఇన్వైట్ చేయడం జరుగుతూ ఉంది. ఎందుకంటే ఇండస్ట్రీ అండ్ అకాడమిక్స్ అండ్ సైంటిస్ట్ వీళ్ళంతా కలిసి వచ్చినప్పుడే మనం సస్టైనబుల్గా చేయగలుగుతాం. సో ఆ ఉద్దేశంతోనే, ఆ స్ట్రక్చర్తోనే ఈ క్వాంటమ్ వ్యాలీ అనేటటువంటిది మరి ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేయడం జరిగింది. ఈ విషయాన్ని మీరు కూడా, అంటే ప్రభుత్వం చేస్తూ ఉంది, ప్రభుత్వం ఏ విధంగా చేస్తుంది అనేది మీరు అందరూ కూడా చూస్తూ ఉంటారు మీడియాలో ఉండి. అది మీ 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 యొక్క వృత్తి, మీ ఆక్యుపేషన్. అలాగే కాకుండా ఒక నార్మల్ పర్సన్ కూడా, అంటే ప్రతి ఒక్క నా వ్యక్తిగత అభిప్రాయం ఇది, ప్రతి ఒక్క పౌరుడు కూడా ఈ అవకాశాన్ని చూడాల. లేదంటే ఇప్పుడు వరకు ఏమైతే దేశము ఈ సాఫ్ట్వేర్లో మరి ప్రగతి చెందిందో, ఇప్పుడు ఒక లీడ్ ప్రస్తుతానికి అందరూ ఇప్పుడు యూరోప్, అమెరికా అని ఇప్పుడు వరకు అనేవారు. కానీ ఈ యొక్క టెక్నాలజీతో ఇండియా వైపు, ఆంధ్ర రాష్ట్ర వైపు ప్రపంచం తిరిగి చూసేంత అవకాశము, కెపాసిటీ వచ్చింది మనలో. ఇది సద్వినియోగం చేసుకోవాలనే ఉద్దేశంతోనే ముందుకు వెళ్ళడం జరుగుతూ ఉంది. ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఏమైతే చేస్తున్నామో అన్ని యాక్టివిటీస్ వేరే స్థాయిలో అంటే స్పీడ్ కానివ్వచ్చు, ప్రాబ్లమ్ సాల్వింగ్ కానివ్వచ్చు, ఆ వేరే ఒక స్థాయిలో మరి జరిగే ఒక పాసిబిలిటీని గుర్తించి మరి ఈ ఒక నిర్ణయం తీసుకోవడం జరిగింది. With these words, I just have to end my talk. I just request all of you that it is a rare moment in history. The time has come, at least the government of Andhra Pradesh thinks that the time has come for India and the state of Andhra Pradesh to lead the quantum revolution, and therefore we have taken many decisions in the government of Andhra Pradesh to achieve that. And the quantum workshop, which is scheduled on 30th of this June, is trying to precisely bring all the stakeholders together. ఆ రోజు స్టేక్హోల్డర్స్ అందరూ కూడా వచ్చి మరి ఒక అమరావతి డిక్లరేషన్ అనేది కూడా మరి చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. ఆ డిక్లరేషన్లో మనం ఎటువంటి స్టెప్స్ తీసుకోవాలా, ఇక్కడ ఒక ఎకో సిస్టమ్ అనేటటువంటిది మరి అమరావతిలో ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో క్రియేట్ కావాలా, దానికి కావాల్సినటువంటి ఏమేమి నిర్ణయాలు ఏమేమి చర్యలు తీసుకోవాలనేది కూడా ఒక అమరావతి డిక్లరేషన్ అనేటువంటిది మరి చేసి అది ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారికి కూడా అది సబ్మిట్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. మీరందరూ కూడా దీన్ని చాలా క్షుణ్ణంగా గమనించాలా అనేటటువంటిది నేను కోరుతున్నాను. నాట్ ఓన్లీ యాజ్ మీడియా పర్సన్స్ బట్ యాజ్ నార్మల్ పర్సన్స్ ఆల్సో. ఎందుకంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ గేమ్ చేంజర్ టెక్నాలజీ విచ్ వీ షుడ్ బి వెరీ మచ్ అవేర్ ఆఫ్ అండ్ అలైవ్ టు ద పాసిబిలిటీస్. ధన్యవాదాలండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ. బస్.
Thank you, Pradyumna. Now we'll have a brief presentation and a small talk on the subject at hand. The first speaker today is Professor Anil Prabhakar. Sir currently teaches at IIT Chennai, and sir is an alumni of the Carnegie Mellon University. All of us are aware about the prestigious university. And sir specializes in quantum communication and magnomics, assistive technologies, and also on photonic quantum computing. In fact, I should mention that sir has a large number of patents on quantum technologies. So I went through your profile, sir. I think at last count, I think you have some 12 to 13 patents on the quantum technologies. So sir is an expert on, sir teaches at IIT Chennai on the subject which we are trying to understand today. Sir is one of the foremost expert on the area. I would request sir to please enlighten us on the subject to the gathering here. Thank you, sir. Yeah, you can connect.
HDMI cable.
HDMI cable.
Keep it there. Change it. We have a changer.
I think we'll sit down, sir, so that
Yeah.
I can sit.
Yeah. Forward and back. I can start by saying that two things. When I was coming here, the first question was, do I speak Telugu? And I answered, I can speak Telugu, but nobody will understand it. So my mastery over Telugu is very limited to the few years I spent in Hyderabad. The second thing I thought was very well described were these examples of what a quantum computer does. With a small change. So this idea of a maze, a puzzle that takes you from a starting point to an ending point, and having many different ways of doing that is a very nice example. And it tells you that if you can search in parallel, it is easy to do. In parallel means I search on one computer, I search this path, on another computer I search this path, and so on. But a quantum computer is not a parallel computer. And I was visiting a company in Bangalore, Mercedes-Benz, and they had a very nice idea. They said that when you wanted to travel faster, you did not use more horses, you invented the car. The car is different from using more horses or faster horses. When you want to travel from Vijayawada to America, you cannot use more ships. You need to invent the plane. So, the quantum computer is different from the classical computer. It is not a faster computer. It is a different computer. And I think that is very critical, and these examples are good examples. You can build as many fast ships as you want, but it will still take you a lot of time to go from Vijayawada to America. If you build a plane, you can do better. If you want to go to the moon, you build a rocket ship. No plane is going to take you to the moon. Like that, there are problems that we want to solve that we cannot do on a classical computer. And we need a different computer for that, and that is why the quantum computer is something that we are interested in. Right? The other thing that they mentioned was these passwords. And I like the example of a suitcase with 3 digits, 4 digits, 10 digits. But the mistake out there is assuming that there is a person out there turning that. Suppose I had a robot to do that. And in the movies we see those people will come there and they'll just hold something up and it will automatically figure out what the password is. If I have a machine to do it, the machine will do it much faster. So I don't today need a quantum computer to break your passwords. I can do it with AI, with ChatGPT, with GPUs. And that is already there, right? So we need to protect ourselves from the people who want our passwords. But that is not why we are installing a quantum computer. I don't want to install a quantum computer and train people to crack passwords. That is a waste of time, right? I want to build a quantum computer, install a quantum computer to solve problems that are of interest to us. And we'll talk a little bit about it. I think we're finally here. The slideshow. No, just on that, you just click slideshow. On the I got it. You have to ask them. Do you need to remove the chairs? Yes. All right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think they're saying it's okay. All right. So, I represent many institutions. I'm here as advisor for TCS. I'm a faculty at IIT Madras. I'm also the project director for one of the hubs of the National Quantum Mission. And I'm the lead investigator of the Center for Quantum Information, Communication and Computing. Right? So I wear many hats. I'll give you a little brief. The National Quantum Mission has 4 hubs. IIT Madras is one of them. IIT Bombay is one. IIT Delhi is one. And the 4th one is at IISc in Bangalore. Now these hubs work with other institutions. So we have 15 technical groups and 42 member institutions. And there are 4 verticals on quantum communication, quantum computing, quantum sensing, and quantum materials. The communication hub is co-chaired by the Center for Development of Telematics, CDOT, in Delhi. The computing one is in Bangalore. Sensing and metrology is done by Bombay, and materials and devices is done at Delhi. Right? The idea is it is pan-India. You can see that there are institutions. If you look closely, you will see IIT Tirupati out there. You will see IIT Hyderabad out there, University of Hyderabad, right? So in the AP and Telangana region, we have a few institutions. And of course, we are also all the way to the northeast. You will see IIT Guwahati out there, and you'll see IIT Jammu also. So we have covered most of the country. The idea is anybody who wants to work with us can work through one of these institutions, and we are all forming a big collaboration. This is the picture I use to explain quantum computing. It's not very accurate, but it's okay. Every time you throw a stone in a lake, you will see ripples. And the more stones you throw, the more ripples, and the ripples talk to each other. Right? And the way they start talking to each other, you will see that if you have n stones and n is 64, you will get 10 to the power 19 conversations happening between the ripples. Right? What is 10 to the power 19? I'll tell you, it's hard to imagine. 10 to the power 2 is 100. 10 to the power 3 is 1000. 10 to the power 4 is 10,000. 10 to the power 5 is 1 lakh. 10 to the power 7 is 1 crore. 10 to the power 19 is, 10 to the power 14 is 1 crore, 1 crore. Right, those many zeros. So 10 to the power 19 is, I think, 1 lakh, 1 crore, 1 crore. Right? That's a very large number. And that is what will happen if you have 64 qubit quantum computer. What we don't always tell you is that when we do this math, we are assuming that they're all talking to each other. We are assuming there's no noise. On a computer, today, there is a lot of noise. And so, you don't really see this advantage. All right. A lot of what people will talk to you about is this bottom layer, what is called the physical processor. So when you say today's computer, you have a CPU. Inside the computer, you have a CPU. Or if you want parallel computer, you have a GPU. For a quantum computer at the bottom, we call it a QPU, right? Quantum processing unit. Above that, there are the classical computing. there is an instruction set, there is logical processor, and there are algorithms. All that is classical. Many people will think that if you have the bottom layer, you have a quantum computer, but that is not true. If you have the bottom layer, you have stones that you're throwing in the lake. Somebody has to use that to compute, to do some math, to solve a problem, right? So there is work on all those layers that needs to be done. I put this up to tell you that there are lots of options. What we are talking about in quantum technologies are many of them in the National Quantum Mission. We have the superconducting ones from IBM. We have the photonic ones, the startup in Bangalore trying that. There are atomic ones that are being built in the National Quantum Mission, trapped ions, silicon quantum dots. Each of these is a different quantum computer. So going back to the analogy of stones in the lake, there are different lakes. Some lakes are small, some lakes are big. Some stones are small, some stones are big. Some stones are not stones, they're pieces of wood. So all of them are different ways of doing the same calculation. And IBM's probably the one that is the leader with more than 1,000 qubits or stones. Right? This one is also an interesting slide because it tells you that a lot of work started even 25 years ago. It's not that it started after COVID. It started 25 years ago. It has taken 25 years to come. By about 10 years ago, IBM had already got 5 qubits, right? And now in 2024 and 2025, we are talking of 1,000 qubits, right? So there is the bottom row which tells you the progress that has been made over the years, slowly and steadily, right? At the same time, you'll see that there are other people who are also trying things, and they are still not there. They are saying in 2028 they'll get 1,000 qubits. The second row has 10,000 qubits in 2026, but that's a promise, right? At the same time, if you look down there, IBM will say they will also have 10,000 in 2026. But there's somebody on the top row who says in 2025 they will have 1 million. But these are all promises, right? Today, if you ask me where do you want to go for 1,000 qubits, you have to go to IBM, right? Or, as you'll see, something else I'll show you in a bit. So what are the applications of this quantum computer? What do we do with it? And that's a big question. We've decided that opening suitcases is not a good problem because not everybody wants to open each other's suitcases. That is not the problem. The problem is, what can you use it for? Can you use it for drug discovery? We talked about COVID, right? So to do drug discovery, you need a quantum computer, right? Because the drugs are quantum mechanical in nature. So you need a quantum computer for that. You want to solve large machine learning problems. Today, everybody is doing machine learning. Data science and machine learning is one of the most popular engineering streams. But that machine learning has large amounts of data. And then you go back and think of that lake with stones. If the lake is full of data and you want to have the data talking to each other, then you have to throw stones out there and see which ones are talking to each other. And that's kind of the machine learning applications of these quantum computers. At the very end is what we call cryptography, or this breaking of passwords or opening suitcases, right? Breaking locks. But you can see that you can build new batteries, which is very important for all of us. We can build new batteries, we can build new drugs, new materials. On the top, there is one problem called bin packing. You know, it's a very simple problem. I take a suitcase again, and I give you all these objects. I lost half my presentation. HDMI. What happened? You turned it. Oh, the power went off in half. Okay. Oh, the power went off in half. I can see it here. All right. Let me talk to you about bin packing. Take a suitcase, take all these objects and ask, I have to put all of this into the suitcase. How hard or easy is it to do? Right? And what happens is, as the suitcase becomes larger and the number of objects become more, it becomes very, very, very hard. Where do we use this? We use it while designing cars. How many suitcases can you put in the boot of the car? Okay. We use it when loading ships. Where should we load the ship? Where should we load the aircraft? Right? So all of these, cargo delivery is one of them. The second one was route optimization. Everybody uses Zomato, Swiggy. Should the Zomato, Swiggy guy come to your house first or go to his house first? That is the question. And that can be solved very quickly on a quantum computer. Right? So those are the sort of questions that we are trying to look at and encourage people to look at, to say that let us use the quantum computer for things that will affect your life and my life more than the quantum cryptography. Right? So proteins, all our bodies are made of proteins. We all know what proteins are, right? They're something we eat. It's there in beans, right? It's there in meat. How does proteins fold? They solved it, right? As an optimization problem on a computer called an ion trap computer, right? So this is like last week's news, right? So every day there is a new news and new record, right? The answer on how we use a quantum computer is that we don't use it by itself. You are not going to use a quantum computer instead of your laptop. You are not going to use a quantum computer to surf the internet, right? You're going to use a quantum computer along with other computers in what is called hybrid computing. So the regular computer will do 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, and the quantum computer will do 1 lakh, 1 crore plus 3 lakh, 1 crore type of problems, right? So the large problems will go to the quantum computer, the small problems will go to the regular computer. And that is what we call hybrid computing, right? And there are many use cases. You'll see out here there is something called image processing, where you try to understand why a pipe has rust. We look at time series forecasting, where we understand how the stock market works. Drug discovery we spoke about, and the last one is cyber security. You'll see how cyber security is also important. Why is it important today? I will show you in a bit. But all of these are use cases that can work on a quantum computer. All right. So when do we use a quantum computer? And I think we had this conversation that 16 square is 256, 16 square root is 4. So difference between 4 and 256 is very large. So if you're looking at a search algorithm, we're no longer talking of 16, but the size of the problem is about 350. So when you go to a large problem, that is when the red curve takes less time than the blue curve. So you need a large enough problem. If you try to do a small problem, then the quantum computer is not useful, right? The second algorithm actually is called the factoring algorithm, which is to break passwords. So we won't spend too much time on that, right? Except to say this: how long does it take to break your password? And I always do this in any audience. So if you have an 8-character password, how many of you have 8-character passwords? I have only 6 characters. I do the minimum. 8-character password, which is a mix of upper and lower case, third column, is 1 week on a ChatGPT style computer. So Whereas if it is only lowercase, it's 43 minutes. If it is numbers, upper and lowercase, it's 1 month on a ChatGPT computer. If it is numbers, upper and lowercase, letters and symbols, it's 3 months on a ChatGPT computer. And the computers are getting better. Those are classical computers. I don't have to wait for a quantum computer to crack your password. I will do it with the classical computer. And I think that is important, right? And what will happen when you have a quantum computer is that 3 months will become 3 days, 3 hours, or 3 minutes. Who has the computer today? Our competition to the north. This is yesterday's news. 1,000 qubits, right? Will they tell us that they can crack our password? They won't tell us. Because if I can open your suitcase, why will I tell you? I will let you put all your gold in the suitcase and then open it and take the gold. I will not tell you that I can open it because then you'll change the number, right? So this is, as of yesterday, is what they've announced, right? To protect you against that, the government, the national government has also set up a quantum communications hub, which will protect you from someone trying to steal your passwords. And there is a project called Kila that is going to connect Delhi to Bangalore and run a test bed from Chennai to Bangalore. There is a project run by ISRO to set up satellites to exchange passwords. There is something called post-quantum cryptography that can help protect passwords even before Kila and satellites are up. There is another project called QPRAN that everywhere on the Kila where the white dots are, they're going to put something called a quantum repeater. So these projects are what I call the shield. You know, if you look at Bahubali, there are two people, right? There is someone who attacks and there's someone who defends. The attacker has a sword. The person who defends has a shield. This is the shield. The previous one was a sword, right? This is the sword. Someone is trying to attack you. This is the shield, right? Now you can also have your own sword, but that is a different conversation, right? So finally, I will leave it with this picture. We started off with the National Quantum Mission, and now we've got Amravati Quantum Valley also coming up. And the idea is that the Amravati Quantum Valley will give access to IBM Q to both academia and industry. And this entire collaboration is going to benefit. I mean, this collaboration is all academia, but there are industries that are also going to come on board, and they are all going to benefit from having access to this machine in Amravati. All right, so let me stop here, and if there are questions, I can take them. At the end? All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Anil Prabhakar. Now we have another eminent expert in the area. Mr. Anil Singhi is Director Research, IBM India. In fact, he is also from the same university as Mr. Anil Prabhakar, probably Carnegie Mellon University. And he specializes in hybrid cloud, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and cybersecurity. And the kind of mixed kind of experience and the expertise is on all the fields, I think makes him the perfect choice today to address all of us and tell us about his ideas on the quantum computing and the Amravati Quantum Valley. Please, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Many thanks to Secretary Bhaskar Garu and Secretary Pradyumna Garu. They've been moving with a lot of speed to execute this vision of Honorable Chief Minister. It's very exciting for us. And Professor Prabhakar gave very good introduction to what quantum can do and what it cannot do, which is perfect because what I was going to talk about is how useful is quantum becoming, right? Is now the right time to get into it? And also show you a sneak preview of the computer that's actually going to be installed here and what the future looks like. So our focus in IBM is to bring useful quantum computing to the world, right? So useful is a very important word, right? We have moved beyond, I think 10 years ago, we moved beyond showcasing whether quantum chips can be made or what is a quantum chip. And really we are focused for the last 10 years on usefulness. Okay, I think it's back. So just to have a mental model, if you look at all the problems that computers solve today, right? They do a lot of simulations, all the way from nuclear simulations. They also do normal things like web browsing, Microsoft Word. So all of these you can put in this easy problem bucket, right? That can be solved today. But then there are some hard problems that they cannot solve. And Anil spoke about some of them, and that is what quantum computing can unlock. And the idea is that our classical computers, our supercomputers, they will continue, our GPUs, and then quantum will provide another kind of computing together to solve this whole complete set of problems for us in humanity. And this is just a high-level view of what we are seeing across the world. Many companies, research labs, trying to address in different industry sectors like aerospace and automotive, financial services, high-tech, energy, environment, healthcare and life sciences, drug discovery. Our previous speakers spoke a lot about that. One very interesting one very recently, again, every week there's a new news. There's one more news of just 3 days ago is this algorithm that was implemented by RIKEN, which is a research lab in Japan, and IBM together by combining quantum computer and a supercomputer. So they have a supercomputer there called Fugaku, which is one of the most powerful classical supercomputers. They also have the IBM quantum computer. They implemented an algorithm to very precisely calculate the electronic structure of a molecule called ferrous sulfide or iron sulfide. Now, why is that interesting? That is interesting because that molecule is extremely important for things like nitrogen fixation. Means when we make fertilizers for our agriculture requirement, we use a lot of ammonia that's required by plants to grow healthily. Now that ammonia fertilizer today when we manufacture, I don't know if you know, it uses 1 to 2% of all the energy consumption of the world. That's because it's a very energy consuming process to take the nitrogen in the air and make the ammonia. And this iron sulfide molecule is an important part of that chemical reaction to make the ammonia. Now imagine if you can precisely simulate that chemical reaction, can you come up with some more energy efficient chemistry to create this ammonia, right? That is such a huge impact on our energy security and our food security. That's one of the examples in this energy environment. There's so many such examples, right? And these are things that are being done today as experiments, right? They are not scaled up to the commercial yet, but you'll see why today's time is the right time to find these algorithms and to come up with these ideas. Now, from our lens, to make quantum computing useful, two things are very important, and we are very, very engaged in both of those. One, of course, you need to have the quantum platform that is able to go beyond classical computing. If it's not there, then anyway, nothing can be done. And with our superconducting approaches, Anil had this very nice chart. We are making very good progress on that, but not just the hardware, but also the software. The software is equally important. The second is this network of organizations across the world have to all be engaged in figuring out how to use these computers, because they don't work just like your normal classical computers. And so activating a network, we have been very involved globally here. There's more than 250 companies, research organizations, labs, who are all using IBM quantum machines to do this kind of research that I just described. Some of them are actually in India. And on top of that, in India, we are seeing so much interest from learners, from students, researchers, professionals to actually become skilled in programming these quantum computers. Today, if you look at the usage of IBM quantum computers, we have more than 20 of those available on the cloud. The second highest number of users is from India. So the hunger is so much, and people are self-learning. In fact, with IIT Madras, just 3 years ago, we made a course on NPTEL. There's more than 25,000 students already went through that course. There's this AICTE program now launched for teaching quantum computing in college. Many of our colleagues in IBM and many other folks are involved in writing those books. So there's a lot of energy in the network. So that's why with AP and Amravati taking this initiative to actually bring it here and make it real is very exciting. So I want to show you a preview of this Quantum System 2. So the IBM Quantum System 2 is the most advanced quantum computer ever built. And the first one of it, of course, was installed within IBM's own data centers. But outside of that, the first one just got installed a couple of days ago in Japan. And it gives me a lot of pride to say very soon we will have one of these here close by. So this is a little bit of a preview. I'm going to play the video. It's about 1 minute long, so you can follow it.
Block of quantum-centric supercomputing. Quantum System 2 isn't just a standalone system. It was designed to be extensible, supporting up to 4,158 qubits with additional control racks added. It was also designed to be modular, so multiple Quantum System 2s can connect cryostats with long-range couplers connecting the processors, supporting up to 8,316 qubits, and with 3 System 2s, a remarkable 16,632 qubits. In a data center environment, classical or AI racks can be swapped out to extend the computational capacity of the system. Thank you.
Okay, that was a very quick video, but some of the key things there was this Quantum System 2 is not just a fixed system. It is designed to be expandable, right? So it showed you one system which can support up to 4,000 or so qubits, and then you can combine more systems later to make it bigger and bigger. Then you can add your GPU compute, your supercomputers alongside it. So that is the concept. We have gone well beyond making the next quantum chip to actually creating these data center ready quantum systems. And so what we plan to bring here is the start of that journey. It's the first one. But as this industry picks up, there's potential to really make it into a world-class large data center. This is just a screenshot of inside that fridge. There's actually something called a dilution refrigerator. And at the bottom, you see those steel-colored boxes with IBM written. That's where actually where the QPU is, the processor, the chip is there. And it's kept in a vacuum. And at a very, very low temperature that's colder than outer space, right? In the 10 to 20 millikelvin range. That's about minus 273 Celsius. So very cold. The reason is we don't want any kind of disturbance or noise, even at a micro level, to disturb the qubits, because they are working at a, like Anil had this nice example of the ripples. Even a little feather goes in the ripple, it destroys it. So that's how it is. And all these things you see here, these are part of the delivery of the signal and the readout of the signal from the chip, and also the cooling equipment to take the temperature down from the room temperature to outer space in just few meters. So I can only give you a preview here. Once it's here, then you can see the real thing. Now, I want to talk about why today. Why is today this, today as in this time, important to get started with speed? Now, this is a development roadmap IBM has. Year after year, we want to make bigger chips, better software, and get towards a point. And one very important date that we have announced as a promise is 2029. In 2029, we believe we will be able to build what's called a fault-tolerant quantum computer. Means it will not be disturbed by any noise. Today what happens is there is noise, so you can do some calculation, but then only for, say, half a millisecond or something, and then you cannot because the noise disturbs it. So that limits how much you can calculate. Once we can correct that error and make it fault tolerant, then it will really open up the gates, right? That will be like the beginning of the Gen AI moment, right? So that we think it is going to start in about 4 years from now. And while it looks just a little bit away, and we might say, okay, let's start doing the work when that computer is ready. Actually, some people think that way. We think that it will be too late to wait anymore. And the reason is a little bit in this picture. See, it's marking 3 eras of this quantum hardware. You can see the error correction 2029. We want to make this machine, which is error corrected. That will be a new regime. So people can actually run all those quantum algorithms freely on this. 2023 was an important year because that was a year where IBM and UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley researchers got together and they ran a simulation on a quantum computer that could not be run on the fastest supercomputer in the world. So that means we reached a place which we call quantum utility. That means we proved that quantum computers can now do something that is outside the reach of classical computer. That something may not yet be very, very useful, but now we are in this middle range, right, between 23, 29, where the computers can do something that is beyond the reach of the supercomputer, but they're still noisy. They're not perfect. But this 5 years is critical where all this kind of research, like I talked about, the Japanese research is happening. And the early adopters who discover these algorithms and build that expertise and create the startups, from 2029, they are the ones who will lead the world. So that's why this is the perfect time. We bring the computer here. We have 3 years, 4 years to develop our ecosystem and be ready for this future that's coming. And in fact, if you look at some of the data from BCG here, for example, how many POCs are being done every year in the industry using quantum computers in these different industries, energy, logistics? Every year it's going up. Last year, more than 150 POCs, right? Look at the amount of investment that's going every year. So the world is moving very fast, very, very fast. Still, it's not unlocked, so we have that opportunity to really get in the game and take leadership. And it's estimated, the early adopters who are going to start now, they will capture 90% of the value. And given our strength in India, with both software engineering, with scientific skills, and our approach to creating startups with agility, I think we have to be capturing most of this 90%. We cannot leave it to others. So I think this is the perfect time for Amravati's Quantum Valley Tech Park to accelerate this quantum ecosystem in India. The National Quantum Mission has set a foundation for the research, very, very clear goals, but Quantum Valley can set the foundation for the industry. And that will be driven by algorithm discovery, application development that is used in India and used by the world. I want to take just 2 minutes to talk about this future vision, right? That we announced 2029. We want to develop a system called the Starling. This will be the first large-scale fault-tolerant quantum computer of the world. It's still not built. We are ourselves putting the pressure on us to build it. And there's a level of confidence in IBM that we can do it. This is what it is likely going to look at. In the center, you can see the center line is the multiple fridges. And on one side, you have all of the cryogenics to feed it. And then also you have some classical alongside it. This is our data center in New York, where we keep building out these things. You can see on that far right side, that is IBM Quantum System 2. It's showing 4 of those. That's 2025, this year. And that is also what we are bringing to Amravati. 2029, you can see we expect to have the Starling system, which will have those 200 logical qubits. If you remember Professor Prabhakar's that diagram, there's logical qubits. That means after all the error correction is perfect, no sensitivity to noise or almost no sensitivity, you get 200 logical qubits. You can run 100 million quantum gates. That's the 2029 milestone. And soon after 2033, we have a milestone for a system called Quantum Blue Jay, which will support 2,000 logical qubits and 1 billion quantum gates, right? So this might very well be the picture of our Amravati data center, for all you know, if we are successful here, right? So with that, I'll close, and that's all I had for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anil Singhji. Now I'd request Dr. Vijay Rao. Sir has a PhD in computer science and an MSc in telecommunications from Delft University of Technology. And he leads the R&D team of LTE Mindtree. And he has worked earlier in Cognizant, specializes in IoTs and new technologies. And to his credit also, he has 3 patents on his name, if I'm not wrong, and he has 2 contributions to IEEE standards also. I would request Dr. Vijay Rao to come and address the gathering and tell us more about the areas that interest us and what the quantum computing holds for our future. Sir, please.
While they load, well, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to talk here. My speakers earlier have really made my job easy. I think Anil has taken quite a few slides already and explained. So it makes me make my work a little less. And of course, Amit has explained very nice as to what the roadmap is, why quantum computing is so important. I also realize that I'm probably the one between you and your lunch, so I'll also keep it short. Yes. I'll try to focus more on the applications that Anil and Amit were talking about, and how can we make them more useful, or what are we trying to do to make them more useful, take it to the customers, or try to solve real-world problems. So I divide the talk into why quantum, which you've already heard about. Where can quantum bring value? You've seen some snippets. I'll try to go into a little more detail. And how can industry take this to solve some real-world problems? So this example, Anil spoke exactly as is. So if you want to go to a different dimension, right? So yeah, from moving from place A to place B, You could use horses, carriages, then we went on to cars, F1 cars, but it really can't take you beyond a certain point. If you really want to go to a different dimension, you need a different device altogether. And going by the same analogy, initially we had very big computers, batch computers, now we have supercomputers, but they can also solve problems only to a certain extent. If you want to go beyond solving the most complex ones, I will try to give those applications a little later. You need a different technology, and that's what IBM is trying to build, and that's what Amit also showcased. That's a quantum computer. This is a problem, Anil, and I think initially Pradyumna Garu also spoke about. There are two parts to quantum computing. One is trying to solve very complex problems. For example, the Zomato thing, right? So where do you want to go and deliver first? Well, Zomato is a simpler problem. There are such real-world problems out there. If you want to deliver across the world, or if you're running a logistics company, and if you're trying to schedule, optimize the fleet that you have, how many trucks you have, how do you want to load it, where all you want to send it, and of course complicated with the workforce that you have, it's an extremely, extremely complex problem. Just looking at the scale, if you have 10 cities to cover and one truck, then the number of parts that you have are still okay. It's in a lakh combinations or in lakhs of combinations. But as soon as you go up to 20 cities, it's already quadrillion. 28 cities is octillion. It's something that you cannot do. Find an optimal path. Make sure that you're making efficient use of the fleet that you have in order to cover these areas, right? You cannot find out. You will find approximate solutions with today's computers. You will find good approximations with combining with AI, but you will not be able to find the best. So that is one class of problems. I'm just trying to showcase where quantum computer can bring in value. And the other part is security. We talked a lot about passwords and suitcase breaking and so on. But essentially today's security, whatever we use as when we browse URLs, when we open a bank page, we use something called HTTPS. Government always wants us make sure that your browser shows you HTTPS, right? So those things are using very complex maths problems to make sure that the security is maintained. But quantum computers and there are existing quantum algorithms, if somebody gets access to the data, they can break open this. They can actually log into your banks and do whatever transactions that they want to do. So that's where, yeah, it's a sort of a double-edged sword, right? So quantum computing can bring benefits on one hand. On the other hand, it can also create some security issues. We will need to work on both, and these are some of the use cases that we'll start. So the difference is, it's, we talked about a different dimension of computing. I'm not going to talk about the physics here. I'm just going to keep it very light. The idea is classical bits are only zeros and ones. In your phones, in your computers, everything is represented as zeros and ones, and you just work with them. But with quantum computers, there is something called superposition, where the bits can be in 0 and 1 at the same time. And that's why you can compute in multitude of states at the same time. So it makes that number of combinations that you test out for a certain problem is going to be exponential. And that gives the exponential sort of speed. Entanglement, of course, also comes into picture into quantum computing, but I'll leave that out because it's extremely complex physics. So where can this bring value? There are multiple domains. Anil touched upon a few, Amit also touched upon a few. Basically, we see that there are 4 major areas where quantum computing can be applied. Optimization, problems, quantum AI and ML. So earlier this year, Elon Musk talked about quantum AI, trying to use quantum computers to train better models, and that was a huge buzz, and still is a buzz this year. So those are one thing. That's the second application area. Third is simulations. They can be used to simulate climate changes, risk analysis in various domains. And finally is cryptography and security. So I'll try to go through several of these applications in different domains. In finance, optimization is mostly, seeming very beneficial for portfolio optimization. Let's say you have about 1 crore of rupees and you want to make more money out of it by investing in different companies and shares, right? So when should you switch? What are the kind of strategies that you want to use in order to switch? That is extremely complex today. There are multiple dimensions and multiple problems that come in here. But if you want to compute things very quickly and identify what is the portfolio that you should go with, and based on some inputs, how do you want to change it in order to minimize the risk itself? So quantum computer can provide those kind of results for you almost very quickly. Nowadays, you may take a month to find out what the optimal portfolio is, but here you can do it in a matter of days to hours, which, of course, you can see the kind of benefits, right? I just talked about 1 crore of rupees, but you can think about in several hundred crores or thousands of crores for big banks. Fraud detection, a lot of frauds are happening. RBI Act keeps coming up. So can we automate these things? Of course, there is AI to detect these things, but with quantum AI coming into the picture, you can detect those corner cases which are not possible today. That's where the benefit is being pitched for quantum computing. Risk analysis, asset pricing, you can simulate and figure out what if analysis and find out, what should you be doing if you want to optimize a certain parameter, like maybe mitigating the risks or maximizing your profits, etc. And finally, cryptography, security we talked about, somebody can break in and steal the data or make any operations on banking or financial sector. So we also have to realize that financial sector is a critical sector, right? So you don't want it to break. You want to secure it. So there are many solutions. Some, what Anil showed about, Killa, where you are trying to use a quantum cryptography sort of a solution. But there are also classical solutions like post-quantum cryptography, which can secure the pipe and make sure that you're not vulnerable to such attacks. So similarly, quadrants can be drawn for manufacturing. You can imagine complex problems. For example, if you have a car assembly line, you will have n number of machines going through a pipeline, starting from chassis creation to engine integration to other luxury fittings and so on, right? So it's a pipeline that happens. But a car manufacturing plant is not going to do only one car. There are going to be multiple types of cars that it's trying to manufacture, and there are going to be multiple customizations nowadays that customers want to have on their cars. So in order to make things very efficient, you will need to optimize the way you're using machines. So every day that you save in delivering a car will actually make a huge, huge amount of benefit for the car manufacturers or the OEMs. I just talked about car, but you can imagine for all kinds of heavy industries or other manufacturing places, applications that could be there. So similarly, batteries, finding out better battery materials. We are all moving to EVs. So of course, finding better battery materials, how they behave, how can we optimize charging, how can we extend the ranges of these batteries itself to operate, are very, very crucial things as we move into a new era of EV and beyond. And of course, today we are working with lithium. There may be other materials which may even provide better battery materials than being dependent on other countries which provide lithium, right? So discovery of these materials are very important. Same way as insurance, oil and gas, healthcare and life sciences, they've been talked about, so I'm not just going to bore you with similar things, but essentially quantum has a lot of applications where it can bring a lot of value, and that's what we believe in. So we talked about security as well. So how are we trying to do this, or trying to help our clientele with this one, is we see that every organization is going to go through these three phases. Awareness, where we learn what quantum is, we identify what quantum problems are. We should note that not every problem is solvable by quantum computing, or even if it's solvable, it does not bring that advantage, just as other speakers mentioned. So we'll need to identify the right problems where it can be mapped onto quantum mechanics, for example, drug discovery or battery materials discovery or portfolio optimization and so on. And then is the preparedness. Okay, now I've identified what is the next step that we'll have to do. We'll want to experiment and identify which are these, whether these use cases identified are going to play out the same way. And once you have done that, the next part is to actually scale it up to a value, right? So that's where you'll really see the value, where you have optimized your manufacturing unit or you have optimized your portfolio and so on. And these are some of the things that typical services that we are building around in LTI Mindtree to help our customers go through the quantum journey, right? It's not an easy one, but it's a crucial one that most enterprises will follow. So the way we are trying to do is build strong capability where we have a strong quantum workforce, have researchers, have people who really understand what quantum means and how current problems can be mapped onto that. Second part is integrated quantum ecosystem, work with players like IBM, with startups that are going to be developing and working on quantum technologies. Collaborative engagements, go to the end customers who really have problems, take the partners along with us, and work with them to solve real-world problems that we talked about. And what we are trying to do is translational research. While IBM and IIT Madras here, I'm just taking these examples, but there are many more universities and academia which are working on fundamental problems. There needs to be someone who takes and converts these problems to industry-specific ones and make sure that it is sort of democratized and solve those useful problems to get the money back, return on investment, right? So that's what we are specializing in, translational research. And this is where exactly Amravati Quantum Valley sort of fits in, because it is going to contribute to all of these four boxes. It is going to enable stronger capability. It is trying to build quantum-ready workforce that could be hired, right? So when quantum computers are going to be prevalent, we would need a lot more people than handful. So having that quantum-ready workforce is important. That's one thing. Ecosystem, of course, there's going to be an ecosystem of startups and other companies that are going to be around here where we can partner with in order to do this. And we will work together in order to co-innovate, do the translational research, and take it to our clients with these collaborative engagements. So that's what we are trying to do here, and we'd be very happy to work together with Amravati Quantum Valley in these regards. With that one, I will end my talk and not hold you back for your lunch. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Now I think we'll have a question and answer session. Just take a minute to rearrange these seats, and then we can have a few questions and answers or queries on different aspects of what has been spoken or something which was not spoken, but still it's at the back of your mind, some questions that you have. we would be happy to answer those queries and all. Of course, anything specific to Andhra Pradesh or government of AP policy, I'll be happy to handle those questions. And in terms of technology, I think we have eminent guests today here, so they would be happy to announce. Sir, I would request the speakers of today, Professor Anil Prabhakar sir, Mr. Anil Singhi and Dr. Vijayawada to please come onto the stage so that we can have the Q&A session done. Do it quickly. Yeah. Cordless mics can be given there. Cordless mics. So 3-4 people can be there with cordless mics, and then that can be done. Yeah. Please, sir. Yeah, any questions on the quantum technologies, quantum computer, quantum communications, or the Amravati Quantum Valley Tech Park, what we are doing, and Amravati Quantum Technology Park gurinchi, adevidanga quantum computers gurinchi, quantum technologies gurinchi, any queries or any question and answers, our guests would be happy to take these questions. Thank you. Yeah. Mike, akkade undi.
Hello. Hi, this is Apurva here from India Today. Just wanted to check with regards to the Amravati Quantum Valley, how viable of an option would you think in the coming years? You're saying 2029 is a goal. 2029 is a goal as per se. So in these years where you're error correcting and everything, how viable do you think this Amravati would be an actual ecosystem to build and develop for your possible next vision for 2029?
Hello. Okay. Yeah, so the IBM goal is to have that fault-tolerant machine by 2029. That is going to proceed independent because that's a core technology development. But I think where Amravati Quantum Valley can be very important is to establish the use cases and the ecosystem that actually feeds back into that effort to inform our work, right? And so we are very keen to see how the ecosystem develops. I think we have 4 years if we use that timeline. In today's world, 4 years is a good amount of time. And if we move with speed, the good thing is we're not starting from scratch with the National Quantum Mission. There's already research groups activated around core technology. With Andhra Pradesh, the government's focus and commitment, already on the 30th, we're having an industry day. I think it's now really about the industry recognizing that there's an opportunity and to engage around the use cases from across the country. And if we can trigger that, then I think in the next 3-4 years, definitely we'll have very good applications being developed, algorithms being developed by the synergy between NQM and Quantum Valley, which will inform definitely not just IBM, but many of the technology developers globally on how to actually shape the underlying technology to best meet the needs of these emerging applications.
I can add a little bit there. It's not that, applications cannot be run on the system that we are bringing to Amravati. They can be. You can start with that. They'll become better, right? So rather than waiting for 4 years to become better, we can start off doing things. So what we are trying to do is that we are trying to develop an ecosystem. See, the idea is that our vision is that by about January of next year, we should have the first quantum computer coming in. And that would be the first one for India. And I don't think we have an option of having multiple quantum computers getting established in India, at least for in the next 2-3 years. So we don't have that kind of a scope for so many multiple systems to be established. We start off with this so that we give access to the system to our research institutions. So they will start doing research, R&D, and they'll also develop competencies in that. And startup companies can start experimenting with a little bit of experimentation. They can do a lot of use cases, they can do algorithms and all. That will keep on happening. What we are more interested in beyond these two things is to have an ecosystem. Like an ecosystem where researchers are coming and they're bringing their problems here, and they are bringing their problems and working on the system. And we have companies, commercial companies like pharma companies, agri-tech companies, medtech companies, coming in, doing their algorithms and all for bringing out better services, better products, better diagnostics and all. And in our anticipation is that by the time they say that the perfect computer, there will never be a perfection. He says 2029, he will reach one goal post. I am sure that by 2027, they'll start thinking about the next goal post, which is far more 1,000 times or million times better than that. So let us not get into that, Let's have a perfect product to start doing that. So what we have today can actually solve a lot of current problems. What they are suggesting is that the system which will come will solve a lot of future problems also. But as on date, a lot of the quantum system that they are trying to bring here, we are going to put it here. Definitely drug discovery would be possible. Few new drugs can come with that. Maybe after 2029, we would be able to do it better. So rather than waiting for that, we want the ecosystem to do. The grand vision of the government is that at least 90,000 to 1 lakh people working out of Amravati, Quantum Valley, developing new algorithms, new products, doing hardcore research on that. It's not that we are only doing it in isolation. The facility would be available for our research partners, all government research organizations, corporate entities and all. We want the entire ecosystem, corporate, government, private, everything to grow. So I think that should answer your query.